Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 4 of my tutorial Let's Play. In this video, in Weather Mountains, we are going to be covering making weapons. Recently we got the basics of our metalworking industry coming up, and as we look over here to the north, we can see that it is midsummer, meaning it is time to check what we need to sell to our civilization. So if we go over here and highlight our local government, we can see that they requested seeds from us, which we do have a good amount of for trade. But we would like to harvest some more, just to make sure that we have a good amount for trade instead of just a decent amount for trade. We also want to get our metalsmithing industry functioning fully. Last time we got coke going as well as some charcoal, so that we do have plenty of fuel. However, the thing that we really need isn't coke and charcoal. The thing that we really need is weapons, so we can begin digging down. So what we are going to do is we are going to queue up some jobs here. In fact, I'm going to queue up a couple. We are going to queue up smelting. We're going to begin smelting limonite ore, which we have sitting over here in our stockpile. This is an ore of iron, which we found earlier. We need to go find some more. We're also going to start smelting magnetite ore, which is also a ore of iron, which I thought we had some, but I guess we already smelted it. Looks like we did because it's not sitting in our stockpile anymore. Well, we'll have to definitely get to work on that. We're going to be looking for more ore as well. We found ore in various places around this map so far. As you can see up here by our initial stockpile, we do have a little supply of lignite. So something I'm going to show you real quick is how to auto mine. Auto mining is a very useful tool for Dwarf Fortress. Simply click on the advanced mining options or hit N on the keyboard and then click auto. And then I'm going to turn up the priority on this because I would like to get it done quicker. And we are going to select all of the notable lignite right there. We are also going to dig down and just kind of check our staircase for any possible spots where we could go mine. There is plenty of bauxite around here, but, well, I mean, it's not exactly useful. It's just for building furniture. Down here, close to our tavern, we can see that we have shale and various other forms of rock and things that aren't super useful to us. So we're actually going to expand our fortress upwards a little bit after we remember to turn off the auto mining feature, just so that we can kind of find and spot any other things that could possibly be on the layer that we are currently living on. We can also erase this because we don't need to be smoothing the inside of our well, and look around just a little bit more. I think I've actually managed to make this fortress a little bit too compact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to queue up a few spots to kind of dig around and maybe build some more bedrooms off of. And then once I'm done doing that and most of these jobs are getting completed, I will continue with the video. Also, we're going to be in the background smelting the last of that ore, so we have a decent supply by the time we get back. So now, as you can see, we have a couple iron bars getting started. This means that I think it's time for us to queue up some weapons. So down here, we do have this one workshop. So instead of opening up the full manager screen and going to work orders and being all fancy, we're just going to do some simple work orders right here. We're going to jump into the Metalsmiths Ford's work orders, and we're going to type in iron. And we're going to type in the two things, or the one thing that you really, really need for military, and that is a weapon. We're going to do spears. So we're just going to start our fortress off with iron spears. Now we could be really fancy and work towards getting steel or some stronger alloy, but I think for the sake of this here fortress, all we're really going to need is iron. We're going to be doing full sets of iron for our future military, and it looks like the traders that were up on the surface that we traded with earlier, our allies, have headed off on their way. Now keep in mind that was not our home faction. That was, of course, somebody who we traded with in the last episode, and something that has been requested a whole lot, and I've now taken the liberty of doing. If you're watching this video right now, in the description is actually a link to this particular save file. It has been pinned on the previous 3 episodes, but since I didn't mention it, it's not in the description. So if you would like a link to download the save file for this game, or for this particular run, there is a link down in the description, and it should be compatible with all versions of Dwarf Fortress 5.0 and above. So just check it out, download the save file, and give it a try if you are so interested. So now we have the beginnings of our metalworking industry. As you can see, they're bringing 2 iron bars down and some coke, and then they are firing that, blasting it, and making spears. Now the spears that our dwarf here is going to be making kick roast may not be the best at first, because kick roast is brand new to this. This is something that, as a dwarf, they've never started before. As we can see right down here, they're a dabbling weaponsmith. That means, like, they've done it once. Like, they're very much a hobbyist at this point. And all that we can really hope for is that our dabbling weaponsmith here, carrying her baby on her back, who still has the adult sprites because the game doesn't have children's sprites yet, All we can really hope is that they do their best and make the best spears that they can with the skills that they currently have, which currently are null point when it comes to skills. Now, earlier, I did definitely mention that we're making stuff for trade, and the main form of funding here is going to be coming from these lovely little jaspers. However, we also have seeds, so I would like to acquire some more seeds. And one way that we're going to do that is we are going to go outside, and we're going to go kind of see what's available. It looks like there are quite a few plants available, and we are going to grab a bunch of them. Now, of course, we did this before, but we're going to fly back down to the tavern and just take a real quick look at what everybody is cooking. Well, currently, we're cooking nothing. We're also going to check what we're brewing. Well, we are brewing drinks from plants, so that part is pretty good. We're also going to brew drinks from fruit, and we are going to promote that up to the top and just get that rolling. We're also going to make a couple of meals. I'm going to queue up a work order on this one of the two shops because I don't kind of want it rolling on both, and we're going to do fine meals, which don't use as many ingredients as the nicer meals, admittedly. But that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be firing up 25 meals at the kitchen, as well as meals over here. And it looks like we've got kind of a bored child here who is grouchy on remembering being caught in the rain. Well, what can we do to make you a little happier here, kid? Do you want some toys? Is that something you would like us to make for you? I'm pretty sure we already did that with this little here toy stockpile, but you don't seem so interested. Well, I hope that you're able to happy up later, child. Now, I did say that I wanted to begin digging down, so while other jobs are getting going, we are going to need to wait until these bedrooms are all dug out. So once things are dug out, or when traders arrive, I'll continue talking. Now you'll notice right here, we've actually stumbled upon some more hematite. We're just going to real quick jump over to that and zoom in. Look at this. It's sitting right here. This is going to be very useful for our operations, creating more weapons. And also, you'll notice that we received no new migrants this season. Well, that's a shame. We're going to have to definitely make sure that we get more value over to our caravan this year so that we get some migrants. We're going to get mining, and I used the auto mining system. I also pushed it up to a higher priority just to get it done first, to make sure that our smelting jobs down in the furnaces get done first. And as you can see, they've actually already been canceled because they completed everything that they were working on. So we're going to queue some more of that up in the background. We're also going to queue up some more magnetite, as well as some more limonite. And or lemonite, I think actually is how you're supposed to say that. So we're going to get everything rolling kind of in the background. I think that, oops, we queued up two of the same job. Lemonite and magnetite. That's the one that we wanted down here. And also hematite. These various different ores, I think, are going to go a long way in keeping this fort fully functional and bring us closer, or ever closer, to the goal of becoming either a barony or a mountain home. Watch that end up being an impossibility, like maybe this faction just dies halfway through the video, or halfway through the series, and then we just have to give up. Wouldn't that be like the most Dwarf 40 thing ever? Well, in that case, we'll just dig too deep or something and make it exciting. As far as this tutorial series goes, looks like we're hitting more aquifer. That's kind of a bummer, but I mean, it is kind of what it is. What we could do here, actually, if we want to get this stuff out of the aquifer, we'll do it with these gems just to kind of make it clear, is I'm going to prioritize this all the way up with auto mining off and just let them cut that out, and then I will grab a wall piece and just plop it down in its place. Now this is going to pull it out and give us those gems, but also allow us to then fill it back in so that it's not going to cause any leakage problems. So if you're digging into an aquifer like this, just make sure that you're pretty quick to pop plugs back in, so you don't have to worry about leakage everywhere. It can be a little bit tedious and requires some tricky fingers sometimes and quick clicking, but it's not so bad. And as long as you have a healthy amount of blocks around, it's not too hard to just kind of get stuff finished and put away before the water starts spilling everywhere. Because, it's kind of a waste to leave this perfectly good hematite ore right here when, well, I mean, it's just an aquifer, right? And it's also just a light aquifer. It's not even like it's a heavy aquifer. So we'll just be quickly putting bits and pieces in there to stop the flow before it becomes a problem. We're going to continue auto mining over in this direction on this side too while we're at it. So we just kind of need to make sure that they do get over here at some point, because dwarves are pretty busy in this fortress. You know, we do have a large number of children, and the dwarves that are working are very, very busy with lots of metalworking and mining and other things. So we'll queue up those walls here to just kind of make sure this doesn't start leaking everywhere, and mine as much as we can on this side until we hit the aquifer, but we're going to have to be careful about things. As long as we just don't let it get out of hand. I mean, this isn't going to flood my fort or anything. Once again, this is only a light aquifer. Light aquifers are relatively non-consequential in their amount of danger. Heavy aquifers are the ones that you need to worry about. We don't need to worry so much about dealing with those more complicated aquifer dealing with techniques, because I don't think that they're necessary for these videos. However, just kind of dig around aquifers and make sure if you are going to dig into them for any reason that you just stick a cork in it, and then they just generally aren't an issue. Now, as you can see down here, we actually have some spears coming along, and it's looking quite nice. We've actually gained quite a few different spears. If you've made it this far in the video, though, I do recommend that you check out my Twitch streams, twitch.tv/BLINDIRL. I just want to say thank you to all of you who have swung by and just said thanks for the videos, or at the very least just said hi. It's been very nice seeing so many new faces around, and actually having a crowd of people for a while has been a nice treat for a change. But back to this. So we do have these spears. Now, I've seen a lot of people asking me to talk about traps. Now, up on the surface, we did do a little bit of trapping. As you can see up here, we have kind of put these cage traps around, but we don't have an actual, like, trap defense system, right? So something that I've kind of wanted to do up here, we have all of this lemonite that we auto-mined in the last episode. But we're actually going to finish all of this stuff here from mining and let them go finish mining out the basement area, and then fill in this right up here. And then we're going to kind of go around the front, and I think we're going to use this as kind of a trap tunnel. We're going to keep this very simplistic and just show you a very easy way of setting up a quick fortress defense in a pinch. This isn't going to be anything fancy. We're not going to be pumping water anywhere or doing anything goofy. We're just going to be putting together a very, very basic fortress defense. We've got more magnetite up here than we know what to do with, and we also have more lemonite up here than we know what to do with. We built those spears, and we're going to use some of them in weapon traps, and we also have plenty of rock around, which we're going to use in stonefall traps. Both pretty not that dangerous on their own to enemies. However, you know, they will definitely fend off a siege or two in a problem spot. So once the dwarves have kind of finished up their labor and have finished hauling everything down underground, we will continue with the video. Now, would you look at that? It's that season again. Some dwarves have arrived to trade. A caravan from Kosoth Id has arrived, which is grand news indeed. We welcome them as they enter in through our front gates, walking past our cage traps, which of course are not a threat to them, but are something that I'm sure that they recognize as a sign of success of our fortress, seeing as we already have some basic defenses set up. We are now going to go over to the trade depot, and once again, we're going to do the basic system of moving stuff over to be traded. We do need some seed bags, which is definitely something that they want. So, what are things that we don't need immediately? We don't need pear seeds. We know that for sure, and they want seeds, so we don't need pear seeds. We also aren't going to be using rock nuts anytime soon, or we're probably also not going to use cave wheat. And when we do, we can go underground and get those ourselves. We're not going to need apple seeds, and last I checked, I don't think we need bayberries. We also don't need almonds, because I don't think we can actually do anything with those. And we're not making flowers, so Kenwood doesn't need to be kept either. Longland grass doesn't need to be kept, and most of these don't need to be kept. Since we just kind of want to give them some value as well, I'm also going to jump over to cut gems, which, as we've been working on for quite some time, that's just going to be kind of we're going to use those almost like coins for a little bit, I think. So if I look down here, we just need to find our cut gems, which I'm actually not seeing at all. Am I just my username right now, or is there no cut gems on this screen? So somehow, mysteriously, all of my cut gems disappeared. I swear that I had some. I don't think I accidentally turned on an encrusting job or something, but perhaps I did. I don't know. Now I'm like perplexed about where all of my jobs went off to. But, Regardless, we do have a good number of gems sitting around. or we did have a good number of gems sitting around, and now they're all gone. So I'll be honest, I'm a little perplexed by that. So we're just going to, I was going to queue up another round, but it looks like they've cut them all. So I guess we're just trading seeds. We're going to jump over here to diplomacy and read that the expedition leader, Kulet, meets with the outpost liaison, Tashkanil. And Aiden says, I'm your liaison from the mountain homes. Let's discuss your situation. There's much to share. Information has been added to the civilization and world info. What requests do you have of our merchants? Well, certainly not large cut gems, but let's take a real quick at your pets, shall we? We're gonna scroll around and just kind of take a look and see what they have as per usual. And there's nothing that I super duper want. However, I'm looking here, they do have ducks and drakes. I'm gonna get ducks and drakes, male and female ducks, purely as breeding pairs. So we're gonna ask for those. And we're also, as I did say earlier, we're going to request leathers and such. Now the reason for that I said that I would explain later, is for strange moods. You kind of want to have at least one of every type of cloth and at least some leather lying around, as well as some metal bars, but we do already have metal bars. So let's see, what else can we request from them while we're here? Let's also request gypsum plaster. And the reason for gypsum plaster is it is a extra thing that can go into hospitals and is used as part of casts. So if they are using gypsum plaster, it means that they are using them for their casts. Now, they want figurines and bracelets. Well, that's very easy for us. So let's go up here and get to trading, shall we? We're going to request our broker at the depot, who's currently passed out and unconscious, so we'll just let him snooze. And then we will jump back down here, and we are going to do the next most important thing over here. We're gonna unpause these smelting jobs, and I'm going to jump over to our lovely metalsmiths here, and I'm going to add a specific job to it, and we are going to forge iron shields. We're gonna make 10 of those. Now, something else I'm gonna do is I'm going to go to this stockpile, and I'm gonna set this as a give stockpile. We're going to be setting it to give to this. So this stockpile is going to give. It's going to choose which stockpile choose a stockpile from which the selected stockpile will take items from. We don't want to take items from things. We want to put them somewhere. So we're going to take them from this stockpile using this button. We're going to put them here in that smelter. We're gonna take items from this stockpile here, and we're gonna put them in that smelter. And this smelter over here, we are going to take items from that stockpile and put them in this workshop. Choose, once again, which stockpile from which this workshop will take items. So if they can't find them, they will cancel the jobs. However, this is going to free up this stockpile or these jobs a little bit, because my dwarves have been running directly from the top all the way down. So we're just going to wait for that stockpile to fill up, and then we don't need to go halfway across the fortress to make our basic items. We have those spears done, and we are beginning our shields now, at which point we'll be able to get our military up and running. Now, of course, all of our rooms currently are taken up, so we're going to need to make a space for the military. And well, as you can see over here, or you might notice, I still haven't managed to get that aquifer fully plugged up, but we were able to get 2 tiles of it filled. So we're just going to quickly go over here, not with those bismuth bronze bars, but we're going to go over here, and we are going to finish up the last of it. So we got those shale blocks. It's almost done. Shouldn't take too much longer. We're gonna fly up again and take a look and see where our trader is at, who's here ready to trade. And now we do have these seeds available, and they're not selling great because they're just seeds, but hey, it's at least what they asked for, if you know what I mean. We're going to pick up a barrel of dwarven beer, I think, or that's what I would normally, but we're actually gonna scroll down. We're gonna take 2 pieces of leather, and maybe a crate of leather if I can afford it, which I appear to be able to. And we're gonna see how much silk they brought for us. Now, silk can get kind of pricey, so I can't afford a whole crate. It's gonna get mad at me. So instead, I'm going to buy as much of this silk as I can before it turns yellow. There we go. And that's what we're going to trade for. As tempted as I am to buy that beer, unfortunately, it's gonna have to wait till next year. We are now going to select the trade depot again and say no more broker needed for trading, which is true. And then we are going to fly back up to the top. As you can see, we've just finished building a little wall here, which is going to safeten this area up a little bit. Not make it perfect, but safeten it up a little bit. We are now going to finish a wall on the other side as well, which is going to give us full defenses, sort of, in air quotes, along this side. We're going to fly back down and check in on that aquifer, see if it's been fully plugged yet. Not quite. 2 more blocks are needed, but once those 2 blocks are needed, the last of that little bit of water there will dry up in no time. So now that we have this area up top dug out, we're going to dig a very basic trap tunnel. Now, this is the most simple trap design that you're ever going to see. You may have even seen similar trap designs in other games that are inspired by Dwarf Fortress. So I'm just going to real quick do a little switchback pattern, something like this. And the point of this is it's going to be filled up with traps. Now, if you'll remember, over here on next to our front door, we did put some cage traps down. We also have those 2 handy little doors. Now, the point of a system like this is more to catch wild animals than actual invaders. If a were creature shows up, or if any kind of threat shows up that's on foot, we can click on these doors and we can lock them. Now, this is going to stop them from immediately getting into my fortress and hopefully deter them long enough that they will get caught in one of the traps. However, if there's an actual, we're here to stab you to death threat, and there's more than one of them, we want some way to defend ourselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a line of stonefall traps alternating with weapon traps. Now, weapon traps are a finicky thing. They have a habit of breaking, getting clogged, and they also have a habit of just not functioning at all when you need them, making them a risky proposition as a main source of defense. So I would recommend training up some military regardless. However, we are still going to make a weapon traps, or a couple of weapon traps, as well as a couple of stonefall traps. Now, the problem with traps is they have a tendency to dodge them and jump over them. So you kind of want to have something behind them as well. You're going to need a mechanism to build it, and then you're going to need to put weapons into it. So I'm going to put this copper spear in it because we have it, and then I'm going to add 9 iron spears that we've constructed. So I'm going to jump up to my stocks real quick here. We're going to go down to bars, and we're just going to see how much iron we have. We have 61 iron. Okay, so that means we can make 30 spears. We also are down to 4 charcoal, which is getting a little bit low. So I'm actually going to go over the work orders here, and we're going to queue up some more charcoal. We are going to make 100 charcoal, and we may need to chop down some trees to do that. And I'm going to hopefully keep that iron cranking out. Then, right after this trap, we're going to place another trap. So we want them to stumble out of the first trap and fall into the second trap. Weapon traps, assuming they don't break, are repeating, so they will continue to stab things as many times as they step on them. However, this second type of trap here, stonefall traps, are single use. They only go off once and then need to be reloaded. Stonefall traps are less useful than weapon traps, as they do not actually often kill the enemy that they're catching, but what they usually do is force them to jump out of the way. Stonefall traps are at their best when they are really high up or above maybe a moat or next to a lava pit. So things step on it, realize what they've done, panic, and then vault out of the way and fall off the edge onto spikes down at the bottom, or alternatively get smacked to death real hard. Now, another trap here that we have, which I can't actually show you right now because we don't have any upright spikes aside from this one spear. I was going to wait until we had 10. Spikes are activated, so we can connect them to levers. So it's up to us to pull a lever to activate the spikes, and they go up and down. Similar to weapon traps and stonefall traps, except the player has a lot more agency in when they are going to be activated. Spear traps, or spike traps, which can use spears, or alternatively menacing spikes, which can be made at various different workshops. As if I open up the manager here, I will show you. Menace, or let's just say menace. Iron spike, I think. Yeah, there you go. Forge menacing iron spike. We can also make them out of wood. We can make them out of steel. We can make them out of various different materials. So just kind of keep that in mind. Spikes and spears are both useful for the spike traps. So ever you are going to need to make a lever to activate them. So I am going to build a little lever, I think, down in our tavern real quick, which I'm going to call Spiky Spikes or something. And that's going to kind of act as our demonstrator for this spike trap setup. Now, another fun thing with spike traps is instead of using spikes, you can also use something like or instead of using a lever for the spike traps, rather, you can actually use pressure plates, which maybe actually would be a better, I think I've just changed my mind. I've actually like written down a list of things that I would like to do for these tutorials, but I think that maybe this would be a good one to start with. So we're going to actually place a pressure plate up here at the front, and we're going to connect a couple of different traps to that pressure plate. So we are going to go to machines and fluids, and we are going to grab ourselves a pressure plate, if I can find them, unless they hid them in traps, which apparently they did. Okay, so we are going to grab ourselves a pressure plate. Now there's a small little UI here, right? We can set it to reset, or we can set them to single use only. I don't think I've ever actually used these as single use. I've only ever used them as resetting. So water does not trigger. We don't want water to trigger. We don't want magma to trigger, although water and magma can both be useful to trigger these things. We can also do real fancy things. For anybody who's been watching my other videos, you can connect these to pumps. We can connect these to minecarts. We can automate some really crazy trap setups that can be quite vile if done correctly. But we are going to use this to reset, and we're not going to stop anything from triggering it. But we do want creatures to trigger it. We don't want citizens to trigger it, because if my dwarves walk over it, they will get stabbed to death. And then it gives you the list of all of the creatures and weights of other creatures that could theoretically trigger it, with all the way down with the exception of kobolds, batmen, rodent men, and gremlins. But we do want lighter things to trigger it as well, so we are going to place this down right here. Now this particular spot is going to be connected to those spike traps that I was talking about earlier. So we're going to build weapon spikes right here, and we're just going to use an iron spear. Now it's going to be a very simple spike trap. Only one spear is going to come up. It's not going to be the most dangerous thing. It's not even going to be the most effective thing. But I just would like to show it to you for the sake of you understanding, hopefully, how these kinds of traps work. So once again, we have a pressure plate, we have a weapon trap, we have a stonefall trap, and we have, are you constructing that? No, you're playing make-believe on a future trap. What are you thinking about right now? Blissful, remembering sleeping in a very good bedroom. And so the result is you are playing on an upright spear. Well, that's lovely. We're going to link this plate over here to this spike trap. So this plate now that we've selected, when it gets stepped on by an enemy creature and the enemy creature steps forward, they will then get hit by this knife trap, trip over top of the boulder trap, and then hopefully impale themselves on this spike by the time their buddy hits it right behind them. But, keep in mind, it's not a perfect science, and these things tend to fail. So I'm going to fill this up with stonefall traps, and then we will continue on with the video. All right, now you can see all of these traps are set up. We have our single spike trap set up. We have the pressure plate at the front, as well as that weapon trap. And of course, we're going to be wanting to connect other things to that as we go. The one final thing I really would like to cover in this video is we want to attach a drawbridge to the front of this fortress. Now, we don't really have a moat or anything, and we don't really need one, and you don't really need a moat or anything in order to make a drawbridge. But what we're going to do is I am going to dig a little trench. And this little trench isn't really going to do a huge amount aside from kind of look cool. So we're going to dig this little trench right here. And it's going to kind of get dug out a little bit. And then over top of this, we are going to build a drawbridge. And we are going to connect that drawbridge to a lever. Now, we just want this fortress to be safely defended. We don't really want things to, have much of a chance of getting into the fort on the off chance that something tries to. We're going to go down into here, and we are going to channel out the front of this, kind of around the, or rather, we're going to channel this out. And over top here, we're going to dig out this side, just so that our dwarves can get back into the fortress. Because these traps aren't going to affect our dwarves, we don't have to worry too much about that. So we do have the ability to kind of knock out these this kind of base area right here, and then we can dig forward. And obviously, I've gone and trapped the dwarf in here now. We can now dig forward and also let this dwarf out. So you right there, you're just going to real quick dig up here. You're going to ramp yourself up so that you can get out. And then you're going to run around the front and dig over there. And then we are going to make ourselves our entry drawbridge. Now, our entry drawbridge is going to kind of go over top, and he'll get back in once they let in that side. But we're going to kind of open up the drawbridge UI, and there are these different arrows. So do we want it to raise and become a wall piece? Keep in mind, wall pieces can be climbed over easier than normal walls, so you do kind of want to have a floor or an alternative wall on top of it. Or we could have it raise forward on the other side and leave an open hole, or we could have it retract and just disappear entirely. We kind of want it to raise back up and become a wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it like this, all the way on the inside, and it was set to use the closest material, but I would like to be picky, so we're actually going to redo that. I'm going to set it to select material after placement, and once again, we're going to raise it towards us. I'm going to go all the way in like this, and we are going to zoom back in because I was rolling the mouse wheel when I shouldn't have been. And we are going to make this out of shale blocks. We do need 4 blocks, so I will also just select a piece of shale to go with it. And then at the end here, because I'm looking at it and going, well, you can't really just have it like floating there, and when it does raise up, it's going to leave an opening, so I'm going to toss in 2 jet walls here because I think those will look quite nice. And then the dwarves are going to put this whole thing together, and then we're going to be able to connect it to a lever, and I think that's where we're going to leave off this episode. If you've been enjoying this series so far, though, I do recommend you give this channel a subscription on YouTube, and definitely check it out. And if at the end of the video you will see a bunch of shout-outs, those are my YouTube members and my patrons. Those people are the backbone of or have been the backbone of this channel for a very long time. My Twitch channel has been doing extremely well recently, and I'm very thankful for that. Same with this YouTube channel. However, I honestly wouldn't be here without the patrons because they are the ones who've given me stability over the last 4.5 years that I have been covering this game. If you do enjoy this game and you're interested in long-term coverage of it, on this Twitch channel or on my Twitch channel, I guess, but also on this YouTube channel, are archived interviews with Zach and Tarn Adams where we talk about all things about Dwarf Fortress. And I'm going to be looking to do more of these in the future. They're not going anywhere. As well as on the first of every month, I do cover the Future of the Fortress posts that Tarn Adams puts together over on the Bay 12 Games forums. I read through them and talk about the posts and kind of offer a little bit of commentary on top of some of the posts as well. So if you take part in the Bay 12 posts, you may hear your name mentioned on this channel. We're going to remove this tree here so it doesn't kind of get in the way of things. And then we are going to connect this bridge to a lever. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to go all the way down here. And we do have this lever right here. That's this jet lever, which is currently connected to nothing, which I wanted to connect to a front door eventually. And we're going to click link lever, and we are going to fly all the way up to the top. And we are going to click on this drawbridge. That's simple. And then our dwarves are going to run back and forth and connect this drawbridge to the front of our fortress. And in case of calamity, we can lock these doors and our enemies will have to run through this side and potentially die to our traps. And if they don't die to our traps, well then we at least will have a little bit more time because they'll have to run around a bunch of things before they can get in the fortress, I think over here on the far side, we're also going to put 2 extra doors. So, in case of emergency, if they're not trolls and can topple doors, we can lock the doors and make sure that they don't get inside. But as we build up defenses for this fortress slowly, I just wanted to thank everybody once again for sticking around and watching this series. I'm sorry for having to restart it, but I think that it's turning out way better in the second run. And once again, I've already said all of this, but just thank you very much everybody for watching. Leave a comment down in the description if you like this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.